NASCAR's postponed all of its races between now and May 3rd, but as they say, the show must go on. And the show will be going on indeed. NASCAR has made some very exciting announcements in the last 24 hours, and we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more in today's episode. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. It's been pretty gloomy around here yesterday. My last few videos haven't been super upbeat or positive. There hasn't been a whole lot of good news to talk about, not just in the NASCAR, but in the overall world in general. Everything has been just kind of cloudy lately. But today's episode, I'm happy to say, I think we're going to change that, at least a little bit. We have a few things to hit on today, and I'm happy to say that they are all pretty positive. So if you're in need of a pick-me-up, you are in the right place. We've got some good news to talk about. And the first bit of good news is that today's episode is sponsored. Today's episode of Out of the Groove is presented by International Lubricants Incorporated, makers of LubeGuard, the world's finest lubricants. And they sent me a sample of one of their products, KOOL-IT Evaporator and Heater Foam Cleaner. Let's get this thing out of the box really quick. Here we go. KOOL-IT works in all types of vehicles, including hybrid and electric. Easy to use, fast and easy application, no tools required. It leaves a clean, fresh, and long-lasting scent, and it maximizes all your heating and cooling efficiencies. It's been a while since I replaced the air filters in my car, so this might come in handy. But yeah, KOOL-IT, made by the great people at LubeGuard, available at O'Reilly Auto Parts, Amazon, of course, Walmart. You can get it pretty much anywhere. Great stuff right here. They are great supporters of NASCAR, great supporters of Out of the Groove, so definitely go check them out. KOOL-IT, made by LubeGuard. Is that in focus? There we go. Got to get a good view of that logo. That's a nice logo right there. Yeah, KOOL-IT, LubeGuard. Thanks to them for sponsoring this episode of Out of the Groove. Now, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to get the good vibes going here. First bit of news, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his wife revealed this morning that they're having a second child. They posted a fun little video on social media of Dale Jr. finding out the news, and he seemed about as dumbfounded as you'd expect, but very exciting, very fun. Congratulations to the Earnhardt family. Very sweet little video, very sweet moment. So there's some good positive vibes to start your, to start the day, to start the episode. What's next here? That's right, Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal reported this morning that NASCAR is evaluating opportunities across properties in Charlotte, Chicago, Daytona, Des Moines, Detroit, Fontana, Homestead, Kansas City, Phoenix, Richmond, and Talladega. This comes after Adam Stern also reported that NASCAR struck a major new business deal with real estate developer Hillwood to redevelop surplus land across its 13,000 owned acres. As you can see, NASCAR is insisting that this deal does not involve selling tracks themselves. Going back and forth here to the other tweet, Hollywood Casino at Kansas and One Daytona at Daytona are the sort of projects in mind. NASCAR Executive Vice Chair Lisa France Kennedy in a statement added that NASCAR engaged Hillwood, a well-capitalized privately owned firm, due to their established record of successful partnerships to develop transformational projects that add value. So I've had the great fortune of going to a good handful of NASCAR tracks in the last year, and you can definitely tell there are differences between each one, partially based on where they're located, partially due to how old the track is, and it sounds like NASCAR now is devoted to not just renovating a lot of the racetracks, which we've seen a few racetracks in recent years get renovated, like Daytona a few years ago with Daytona Rising. That place is like a football stadium now. It's beautiful. We've seen recently with Phoenix. I was there a couple weeks ago. Phoenix is gorgeous now. Talladega's renovated their infield, and it's beautiful. Great fan experience. NASCAR is focusing now on trying to improve the fan experience for fans that are actually paying the money and traveling to the racetrack. That is very important in NASCAR. They're making it very clear that they understand the importance of having fans at the racetrack and improving the overall experience, not just at the track, but around the track. Because here's been my knock against NASCAR for a long time. People talk about why are attendance figures falling? Why are not as many people going to races? Part of it is the sport itself is not quite as popular as it once was. That's obvious. We've gone over countless videos in the last few years discussing why that is, some of those possibilities. That's just the truth. NASCAR right now is not as popular as it was in like 2004. But another big reason is in this day and age, everyone has like a flat screen TV, an HD television. Everyone has phones in their pockets that they can watch the race on social media. They can follow along easily, more easier than ever. That's why a lot of sports have dealt with struggling attendance. A lot of college sports, other than like the big college football teams, a lot of college teams, basketball, football, baseball, have been struggling for attendance recently. NFL teams, there's been a lot of empty seats at some NFL games in recent years. The NBA, some of its smaller market teams especially are struggling. Major League Baseball is probably the most high profile one. Their attendance figures went down last year, year over year, by a few percentage points, I believe. So MLB has struggled with some sluggish attendance. A lot of sports, not just NASCAR, are struggling bringing people to the facilities, to the stadiums, to the tracks, to the arenas, wherever it may be. They're struggling to get people out of the comfort of their own homes, because these days there are so many luxuries just in your own home. I mean, you can buy an 80-inch flat screen TV for, I just found one for $800 at Walmart. I mean, yeah, $800 is a lot of money, but compared to what you'd think, That's an 80-inch TV. That's the size of this wall behind me. Actually, might be bigger. Shoot, I don't know. That's a big TV. My point is, it's cheaper and more affordable and easier than ever to enjoy sports from the comfort of your own home. So all sports are desperately trying to improve the at-track or in arena, whatever, the in-person experience, because that's what they believe is going to be required to continue to sell tickets for many years to come. NASCAR, as we've seen with some of its racetracks in the last several years, has bought into this as well. They are maybe a little slow to buy into this compared to other sports, but they're definitely buying into it now. The other important thing to note from Adam Stern's tweet there is that if you look at a lot of these cities that they're talking about, most of these cities, the tracks there are owned by ISC, which is now technically owned by NASCAR. You don't see any SMI tracks on there except, I guess, Charlotte, which is just the hub of NASCAR. So NASCAR still has a lot of control in Charlotte, but you don't see Texas, you don't see Las Vegas, you don't see Bristol on here. Those are SMI tracks, which are not directly owned by NASCAR. So this is once again NASCAR taking advantage of the fact that they recently acquired ISC, and now that they own these tracks directly, they have direct influence over them, and now they're making decisions because this is their investment now. NASCAR's wanting to protect their investment. They spend all this money to buy these tracks. They want to make sure these tracks have, are successful and profitable. And NASCAR believes that investing in them, using this outside company to help kind of develop the area around the track, that's huge. I've been to Daytona a couple times, and Daytona's awesome. Daytona, not only is the track phenomenal, it's state of the art at this point, it's a state of the art racetrack. The grandstands are fantastic, but the surrounding areas. I went to a race, I went to the, it was then called the Sprint Unlimited, I guess, but I basically went to the Clash a few years ago, and it was great. Watched the race, it was a fun race, great finish, left the track, traffic was kind of bad, so I'm like, oh, right across the street, there's like a bunch of restaurants. Oh, let's just go eat dinner really quick. We go in, eat dinner, pretty cheap, pretty quick, come out, traffic's gone, great evening. It was a wonderful evening. Contrast that with Bristol. I went to Bristol this last year for the first time. Bristol Motor Speedway is phenomenal. It is the last great Coliseum. It is gorgeous, but it's kind of old. It's not necessarily in the best condition possible. It's an older track, And there's not a whole lot right there around the track. Let me put that. There's no restaurants like just down the street or just within walking distance of the track. There's no major civilization super close. You got to drive a few miles down the road to get to like a McDonald's and a gas station. It's fine, it's doable, but it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and there's not a whole lot in the immediate surrounding area to draw fans in. Contrast this with Kansas. I have not been to Kansas, but I've heard people who go to Kansas. There's a lot of shopping centers and restaurants and stuff right there next to the track. Texas Motor Speedway in recent years has started to develop like shopping centers and outlet malls right there by the track, because that'll help draw people in. If there's more food options, there's more things to do during a race weekend in the immediate area, that's going to draw more fans to the racetrack. And so NASCAR is obviously going all in with this mindset. Too many NASCAR tracks are just out in the middle of freaking nowhere, man. So developing the immediate area, the immediate land right there around the track, and adding amusements, adding entertainment, adding dining options, etc., etc. I mean, Texas Motor Speedway is building a go-kart track at its facility now. That's the type of stuff NASCAR has to do, and that's what I think a lot of these tracks have to do if they want to continue to sell a large number of tickets, especially for some of the tracks that maybe are struggling with attendance, like a Texas Motor Speedway, like, a Homestead Miami, or some of those other tracks that were listed on that list, like Chicagoland isn't doing as well as it wants. Developing the area around the track to help draw more people into that area for the race weekend is smart, is, I think, a good investment. So it's cool to see NASCAR taking initiative, especially now with everything else that's going on. They have a lot on their plate, but they're still going forward with this, taking initiative. I think that's good news. If you live anywhere near one of those areas, or you go to any of those races or those tracks frequently, this is only good news. This just means that they're looking out for the fans in attendance more so than ever, because they value them more so than ever, because they know that they need to do more work now than ever to bring those fans, to keep bringing those fans to the racetrack. I know this is a weird conversation to have right now during all this outbreak and everything where nobody's leaving their houses at all, but once things go back to normal, which they will eventually, NASCAR's going to need to have new and innovative ways of getting fans out to the track. And I think this is smart. This is a cool deal. Anyway, I'll move on from that, because the big thing I want to talk about in this episode is iRacing. Oh yes, esports. iRacing and NASCAR, that tie-in, that relationship has boomed in the last year. I mean, towards the end of last year, some of the iRacing series races were on national television. NBCSN was broadcasting them. That's a pretty huge deal. You've had some Cup Series drivers, like I know William Byron now owns an iRacing team. Denny Hamlin owns an iRacing team. I think Kyle Busch now even owns or sponsors one. I don't know how it works. Cup Series guys are buying into esports, buying into iRacing, and now this year, in amidst all this, hiatus, the real world hiatus where nobody's able to go to the racetrack, NASCAR's postponed all of its races through the end of April. NASCAR fans, NASCAR drivers, NASCAR sponsors are desperate for NASCAR content during this month and a half or so that we're sitting in our houses. And what's everybody turned to? They've turned to streaming, and they've turned to iRacing, because iRacing, everyone can compete from the comfort of their own home. They can practice self-isolation and still race cars in a sense. We saw this last weekend with the Replacements 100 that was kind of thrown together last minute, but featured several high-profile NASCAR drivers: Dale Earnhardt Jr., William Byron, Bubba Wallace, Justin Allgaier, Alex Bowman, etc., etc. A lot of big-name NASCAR drivers and people in and around the sport were competing in that race this past weekend, and that race on Twitch, as it was streamed live, consistently was sitting at around 25,000 live viewers. It's pretty significant. I mean, compared to the millions that watch a Cup Series race on national television each week, that's not very significant, but 25,000 people watching an iRacing live stream, that's huge. I don't know the numbers, but that's gotta be up there as one of the top iRacing streams ever. And I think with the success of that event, iRacing is going even a step further. NASCAR as well. Last night, NASCAR revealed a brand new iRacing series that's gonna run basically during this entire hiatus. They're calling it the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. Over the next few weeks, NASCAR drivers will compete in a simulation-style showcase on the iRacing platform. More from their statement here: the multi-week series will kick off Sunday, March 22nd, that's this weekend, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. The remaining race and broadcast details will be announced at a later date. And then they have a statement from Ben Kennedy, Vice President of Racing Development: until we have cars back on track, the entire NASCAR community has aligned to provide our passionate fans with a unique, fun, and competitive experience on race day. Our longtime partners at iRacing offer an incredible product, and we are excited to see how many of our best drivers will stack up in the virtual domain of competitive racing. And I'll bet some of you guys are wondering, who's gonna sit back and watch virtual racing? It's not the same as real racing. Well, wait until you hear some of the names that have already signed up for this thing. Drivers currently expected to participate include Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell. And I've seen a few other Xfinity drivers, Truck Series drivers that haven't been officially announced as participants, but I think Justin Allgaier, it sounds like, will be participating. Anthony Alfredo responded to one of my tweets saying he's going to participate. He's made some Xfinity starts this year. So it'll be interesting to see who else. I'm sure there'll be many other well-known drivers in and around NASCAR that will also be participating in this thing. But there you have it. Some big names. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be racing up against Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin. It's gonna be like the old days. Yes, it's iRacing. Yes, it's a simulator. Yes, it's not real race cars. But if you watched any of the Coca-Cola iRacing series last night, or if you watched the Replacements 100 a week ago, these cars are still fun to watch race a little bit. It's not the same as watching real race cars. I'm never gonna say that watching iRacing as like entertainment is the same as watching real race cars as entertainment. It's not. I do believe iRacing is a very valuable tool, and I think it is very similar and a good, strong simulation of what it's like to drive a real race car. However, watching it for entertainment isn't really my thing. I'll watch it some. It is entertaining because there is clear skill involved, and it's clear that skills you learn in iRacing do translate into a real race car, at least to some extent. So it is interesting to watch. I'm not going to sit here and say it replaces real racing. I'm not going to say that. It's not the same. But it is pretty fun. And seeing names and stars that we all support every week, normally on Sunday, signing up for this thing, competing with each other, I hope they don't take it too seriously. I hope they have fun with it. I hope they try some new things. I'd love to see like streams from certain drivers' perspectives. I'd love to see, you know, to watch like Kyle Busch commentate his own race as he's playing. That would be hilarious. I don't know if they'd do that, but I'd love to see him experiment with this a little bit, because I think they could have a whole lot of fun and really turn this into a great show for the fans, because that's what this is all about. There's no points on the line. I don't know if there's any money on the line. There's some sponsors probably involved. I bet some sponsors are driving this, but it is really just for fun, and I'd like to see him really experiment with new ideas. But yeah, this is kind of cool. This is exciting. They're basically bringing the Cup Series to iRacing. They're turning a real life series into a digital series, which is what you have to do. I mean, keep in mind, no other sports can do this. You can't recreate a football game, you know, or you can't have football players doing football things on a simulator. I mean, you can play Madden, but that's just doing this. You know, NASCAR, when you're in a real car, you're doing this and you're messing with the pedals. In iRacing, guess what? You're doing the exact same motions. Yeah, there's not the same forces on the car, there's not the same danger, obviously, but the actual physical actions you're doing, very similar in iRacing to what it takes to drive a real race car. Football, I mean, you run really fast, you tackle people. Can't do that on a simulator. You know, it's not 3020 yet. So this is really cool. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not a substitute for real NASCAR racing, but given that we aren't going to get any real NASCAR racing for another month and a half at least, this is a pretty welcome replacement, for lack of a better word. A few drivers already chiming in. Kyle Larson responded to the announcement tweet with this: got me some laps earlier today. Turns out I'm pretty terrible. Hoping the rest of my real life competitors are just as bad. See, this is is gonna be fun. I like that. Doesn't sound like they're taking it too seriously. I know Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch were kind of jokingly going back and forth, talking about each other's iRacing experience or lack of iRacing experience. It's gonna be fun, I think. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see what other names throw their hats into the ring here. But this is gonna be fun. Now, they have not announced where it's gonna be broadcast yet. You saw the date and time. March 22nd, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time is the first race. But they have not yet announced a broadcast partner. Now, once again, Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal. I'm talking so fast, I'm stumbling over my words. I know you guys comment a lot of times that I talk too fast. You're probably right. But Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal reported that Fox Sports is currently in negotiations to be the broadcasting team behind this NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series, whatever it's called. If they start broadcasting this, it's probably not gonna be on the main Fox, but like on FS1. If FS1 is showing this iRacing series with real Cup Series drivers, that's awesome. I haven't watched too much of it, but like Formula One, their season is on hold currently as well due to the outbreak and everything like that. But a lot of the stars of Formula One I've seen have turned to Twitch and have turned to streaming them racing like in simulators and racing against each other and stuff. And it sounds like, from what I can tell, fans have eaten that stuff up. Fans have loved it. It's been a lot of fun for fans to watch and engage with. So I hope that NASCAR is capable of doing the same thing with its stars, especially if we can get them on national TV racing each other in iRacing. It's not the same as real NASCAR. It is not going to replace real NASCAR racing, but it's still pretty fun. It is at least something unique, and it will definitely keep the NASCAR fan base and community engaged. So I'm all for it. I'm hyped about it. I hope it turns out to be great. Like I said earlier, I hope they experiment with some fun broadcasting ideas, and I hope they do not take it too seriously, which I don't think they will. I think they'll keep it pretty light and pretty fun, but that's going to be really, really cool. So I'm excited for that, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Are you excited or interested in watching your favorite drivers potentially race in a simulator, or you think it's a waste of time, you don't care, are you going to tune in or are you not? Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. But as always, y'all, thank you for watching this video. A big thank you again to LubeGuard and KOOL-IT for sponsoring today's episode of Out of the Group. Couldn't do the show without great partners like these folks right here. They're big supporters of Out of the Group, big supporters of the NASCAR fan base, so keep an eye out for them in the future. But thank you all for watching. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and a big thank you, of course, to my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate the support from all of you here on Patreon. Once this hiatus ends and racing starts happening again, I'm hoping to get back out to some more racetracks and cover them the way I usually do, and that would not be possible without the support I get from y'all on Patreon. So thank you a ton for the support. If you also want to support my future endeavors, please check out that top link down in the description. I greatly appreciate it. See, I told you guys this would be a more positive episode. I hope it was. I hope you guys feel a little bit more uplifted, a little bit more excited, a little bit more chill after some of the news we discussed today. But yeah, should have some more videos up pretty soon. I'm kind of traveling around a little bit right now. This is technically my spring break, so I'm just kind of hanging out. But the grind never stops. There's always stuff to be made, stuff to talk about, stuff to do, and expect more videos later this week. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Stay safe out there, everyone. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.